We are entering the fifth night of protests over Wisconsin police shooting Jacob Blake in the back 7 times at point-blank range. He was a 29-year-old, present as police arrived on a scene of a reported domestic incident. And right now, we turn to a special report on the context and law regarding this disturbing incident caught on video. Blake was walking away from police, going into a car that reportedly had his 3 children. You see him there. And all of this went down within 3 minutes of police arriving at the scene. Our video there does not show Blake with a weapon or going towards police. There is a new report that states in the car there was a knife. The question, though, facing police is why they escalated force towards someone walking away from them. And there are systemic reasons that many departments operate with near impunity. Rarely are officers investigated, let alone charged for killing suspects. Wisconsin is one of 14 states that has special rules protecting officers from investigations into their conduct. Unlike every other person, officers get advance warning about the officer in charge of their case, the nature of the investigation, special time provided for any personal necessities. They also, unlike other people, are protected from possible lie detector tests, blood tests, or breathalyzer tests, all of which we know are useful in law enforcement because they're used against everyone else who's not a police officer. Now, many see a double standard in law and in action, like this new video going around that appears to show police thanking a young man now accused of murder, as well as other armed civilians there in Wisconsin. They were handing out water bottles. The sheriff says that interaction was okay because they'd give water to anyone. But this is the exact double standard at play. Police are not treating people the same. I'll say it again. Police are not treating people the same. When Blake was shot repeatedly in the back, he was not accused of any crime, let alone accused of killing people. Then take Kyle Rittenhouse, who allegedly fatally shot 2 people during these protests. But police took him into custody. Remember, an alleged killer. But they took him into custody without incident. He's now charged with first-degree intentional homicide. He was taken the next morning. Video shows police letting him actually leave the scene the night of shootings, walking right past police as bystanders scream, "He just shot someone." This is some of the video we have, but police allowed him, the shooter, to go. Now, the larger context that I want to share with you tonight, other notorious murders have been confronted by police and still taken in peacefully, not shot in the back. Remember the infamous Charleston church killer, Dylann Roof, who terrorized people with mass murder?
We are following a church shooting in Charleston, South Carolina right now. It happened around 9 p.m. this evening. The gunman is still at large.
We don't know what's going on. I don't know if they got the shooter or not. They told us they did. Then right after they told us they had the shooter, we got a bomb threat.
Police at this hour have now identified the gunman as 21-year-old Dylann Storm Roof.
You remember how harrowing that was. Police knew what was going on when they arrived at the scene. They knew they were facing a man armed with a rifle who killed, don't forget, these 9 innocent church-going victims. But police did not fire one shot at him. They managed to carefully, methodically apprehend Dylann Roof. In fact, here you can see officers basically handcuffing him calmly, leading him into the back of that car in the corner. Then the police took him out for Burger King because he was allegedly hungry after that calm arrest. Or take the treatment of a known mass killer and how that contrasts to this altercation from within about a year of that same incident. This was in New York. A black man was, like Jacob Blake and like so many other incidents, not facing a criminal charge. He was not a suspect for violence, let alone a killing. But there it was police who escalated that interaction you see on your screen into violence. Eric Garner, a 43-year-old father of 6, was standing on the street selling contraband cigarettes. There were multiple officers on the scene. They surrounded him. They kept choking him. They choked him to death as he gasped back then this phrase we keep hearing from people before they're killed. He gasped, "I can't breathe." Now, that treatment of what was on video documented a peaceful person contrasts to another person suspected for killing 3 people this time, the wife, child, and mother-in-law, Blake Bivens, a minor league baseball pitcher. Now, this individual fled police and looked, as you can see here, apparently distraught and naked, a danger to others. He even, on this video, attacks a church groundskeeper. He was outnumbered like those other arrests you saw. But here, in this incident, like other police incidents we've tracked, dozens of officers assembled to capture him. There was noticeable restraint. They didn't go near deadly force. The officers used some pepper spray. One used a nightstick. No shots, not a single fire, not a single deadly chokehold. Now, within 1 year of that dramatic encounter, Americans then learned about that excruciatingly slow killing of George Floyd. Here he was beforehand. He was being walked out. He was not armed. He was restrained, but he was then held in that chokehold, pleading the same words, "I can't breathe." Now, Floyd told the police he was claustrophobic and was afraid to get in the car, according to the arrest affidavit. So we know that from police. We don't have more information from Floyd because they killed him. It's an incident that, of course, has shocked many in America, not because it occurred. Police killings of civilians are frequent, but shocking because, like the Blake interaction, was caught on tape. Now, most Americans have seen the citizen-made video of Floyd's killing. That's a piece of it on the right hand of your screen. But it's worth seeing the context of these other arrests, like Dylann Roof, how police peacefully subdued a mass murderer and other killers who were white, while escalating interactions with a black man up to the point where Minnesota authorities allege that what turned that into a crime scene, a murder scene, was what police did. Now, let me warn you, that video is, of course, disturbing.
I can't breathe. Please, the name of it. I can't breathe shit.
Bro, get up, get in the car, man.
I will.
Get up, get in the car.
I can't move.
Get up and get in the car. George Floyd literally could not move. He couldn't breathe. And then he was killed. Now, this is the double standard. This is the inequity. This is what protesters are protesting, the racism. But what about the law? Well, some people emphasize, well, these people, some of them, apparently were resisting arrest. Republican Lindsey Graham stressing that in the new case with Blake, saying he didn't yield.
I don't know what happened there. Let's find out. It's dangerous being a cop. I don't know why the gentleman didn't yield when he was asked to yield. I don't know what the facts are.
Now, people say fleeing the police is illegal. And it is. It's also illegal to drive over the speed limit or be late on your taxes. The punishment for resisting arrest, like those infractions, is not the death penalty. Not in court, not in a summary execution without trial on the street by self-appointed state executioners. Now, this is important. It's illegal for police to use deadly force on someone fleeing. Under the law, they may only use such force if that person possesses the actual ability to kill or gravely injure people, the police or other people who are around. They have to have evidence of that. And this is what they call fundamental law. Cops and lawyers know it because it was a major Supreme Court decision.
Today, in a decision written with great emotional intensity, the Supreme Court ruled that police may not shoot at a fleeing suspect unless there's good reason to believe the suspect might kill or injure the police or others.
And how did the Supreme Court come to even rule on that issue 35 years ago? Now, remember, the court only rules on things that actually happen. It doesn't just issue a random opinion about an idea. Something has to actually happen that then is appealed through the system all the way to the highest court. In this instance, a police shooting so bad, even by the standards of the Reagan-era crackdowns on what was a higher crime rate, so bad that the court drew a line. Now, what kind of case would that be? Well, you're watching the news. You live in America. I bet you already have some idea, even if you don't remember the case. Police killed a black child, unarmed. He weighed about 100 pounds and was 15 years old. He was running away, not a threat to anyone, but he had stolen, allegedly, $10.
One of those killed was Edward Garner, a 100-pound unarmed 15-year-old who died one night on this fence in Memphis after he failed to heed a police warning to stop as he fled with $10 and a purse from an empty house.
I don't see no reason why they should have shot him. And no reason whatsoever.
No reason. $10. 15 years old. That was too much even for a Reagan-era Supreme Court all those decades ago. Now, it's as illegal today as it was then when the Supreme Court ruled it. That's the law. But here we go. You say, all right, Ari, you're telling me all this stuff and all this law. What's the point? The point is the system, which rarely investigates and punishes police when they break those laws, leaving so many black families objectively afraid of literally any potential police interaction because it clearly, methodically, objectively, historically documented has a real risk of turning deadly in minutes. Now we're watching a Republican convention this week that's pressing an argument that it's suburban America and white Americans who should be afraid. All of this comes full circle because that's what civil rights leaders were warning about long before even that Supreme Court decision. You can go all the way back to the 1960s when Stokely Carmichael addressed how white fear can drive police brutality.
White people will have to admit that they are afraid to go into a black ghetto at night. They are afraid. That's a fact. They're afraid because they be beat up, lynched, looted, cut up, etc., etc. That happens to black people inside the ghetto every day, incidentally. And white people are afraid of that. So you get a man to do it for you, a policeman. And now you figure his mentality where he's afraid of black people. The first time a black man jumps, that white man gonna shoot him. He's gonna shoot him. So police brutality is going to exist on that level.
He's going to shoot him, and police brutality will exist on that level. Now, here we are. It's 55 years after that address, and the facts and the law can only take us so far when at the root of it is systemic racism thwarting even the laws that have been passed to address some of this. Now, the killing of George Floyd is tragic, but must be viewed in the wider context. On the right, you have police who made him a dead, innocent man, while on the left, you have police who carefully let convicted murderers live, with a lunch order if they wanted. Which brings us up to Jacob Blake just this last weekend. He was not a suspect, let alone a killer, at the time that he was shot in the back, now reportedly paralyzed, life forever altered. While on the left, another case of, yes, a white man who was actually charged with a triple homicide on the run, clearly out of control, only pepper sprayed, carefully avoiding any use of deadly force. Just 4 years ago was when Colin Kaepernick took that knee during the national anthem. He was kneeling in protest of all of this. It was silent. It was peaceful against systemic racism and violence that has been plaguing the nation. And we all lived through the criticism that he faced for that peaceful protest and that retaliation. And now people protest in Wisconsin and again around the nation and inside the NBA, going back at the same thing. It is tragic. It is wrong that Stokely Carmichael's wisdom applies so seamlessly to today's America. He also said, quote, "We're tired of trying to explain to white people that we're not going to hurt them, when the question is, will white people overcome their racism?" End quote. We've been talking about race in this country since it was founded. And if you use race as a prism, we're a very young democracy because for so long, people were not allowed to participate in their own lives, in their own freedom, let alone in voting. It's time to vote again this year. And we have more and more of the same evidence and the same arguments with the big question, what, if anything, does America want to do about it? Hey, I'm Ari Melber from MSNBC. You can see more of our videos right here, or better yet, subscribe to our YouTube channel below. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us, and we appreciate that.